picture this, right? You've got a 5-time major champion, a guy who is, historically known for having absolute ice in his veins.
Oh, yeah. Totally unflappable.
Exactly. And he's standing on the practice green on a Monday morning. But he's abandoning the putter that basically built his legacy.
Just frantically testing out completely different mallet heads.
Yeah. He's even, asking to borrow another player's exact specifications. That is the level of sheer panic vibrating across Aronimink Golf Club right now.
It is a remarkable scene. I mean, when the absolute best ball strikers in the world start second-guessing their equipment before the tournament even begins.
I think it's wild.
It really is. It tells you everything you need to know about what they are facing this week.
Now, we know you're listening to this as a journalist with over 50 years of experience covering professional golf. You were there for the golden era of Jack Nicklaus,
Oh, absolutely. You've seen it all.
Right. You chronicled the absolute dominance of Tiger Woods, and you've watched the game evolve from, persimmon woods to launch monitors. You have this incredible historical radar.
But our mission today, our goal for this deep dive, is to deliver the granular, unvarnished reality of what is happening on the ground right now.
Exactly. Today is Monday, May 11th, 2026. We are just days ahead of Thursday's opening round of the 108th PGA Championship.
And look, the storylines unfolding on the property today, they are going to dictate exactly what you end up writing about on Sunday evening.
We are going to arm you with the absolute freshest intel. We're talking a radical, highly secretive course transformation, a weather forecast that's going to force players to execute 2 entirely different strategic game plans.
2 completely opposite plans, really.
Yeah, exactly. Plus heavyweights chasing historical milestones, the evolving dynamics surrounding Levy Golf, and of course those microscopic equipment tweaks happening on the practice greens as we speak. Okay, let's unpack this.
Well, the foundation of everything happening this week, it all starts with the soil. The Aronimink that the members play, the one you might recall from past events, it simply does not exist anymore.
No, not at all. I was actually looking at the timeline, and back on November 2nd, 2025, the club just quietly closed its doors to the membership.
Locked them out.
Yeah. And over the last 180 days, Superintendent John Gosselin and PGA Chief Championships Officer Kerry Hay have been operating completely behind the scenes.
And they didn't just, let the rough grow out a bit?
No, they essentially built a parallel golf course right on top of the original footprint. I was thinking about it, and it's like taking a plush luxury sedan that the members drive on weekends,
Right,
locking it in a garage for 6 months, and secretly tuning the engine and stripping the suspension until it's this terrifyingly unforgiving Formula One car.
That is the perfect way to look at it, because
Yeah.
the modifications, they are aggressively engineered to test precision. What's fascinating here is how modern championships protect par.
Yeah, walk us through the specifics.
So they stretched the 320-acre property to 7,394 yards, and it's playing as a par 70.
Which is massive.
It is, but distance isn't even the primary weapon. They took fairways that were generously wide for the membership and squeezed them down to a suffocating average of just 30 yards.
That's practically a bowling alley for these guys.
It really is.
And they even built a brand new forward tee on the 13th hole from scratch, purely to bait players into trying to drive the par 4.
It's total bait.
But let's talk about the hazards, because the Gilhance restoration work is heavily featured here. The bunker count went from 74 up to 180.
And crucially, these aren't your sprawling, flat expanses of sand. These are classic Donald Ross clusters.
Oh, right. The really penal ones.
Exactly. We are talking about 3 or 4 small, deep, cavernous bunkers grouped tightly together. Mechanically, this completely changes a player's escape strategy.
Because you can't just pick a crane.
Yes, exactly. In a large, flat bunker, a pro can easily pick the ball clean and advance it, 200 yards down the fairway. But in a Donald Ross cluster, the steep faces and the tiny surface areas often force a player to wedge out sideways.
Just to get back to the short grass.
Right. It turns a slight miss off the tee into an automatic penalty stroke, essentially.
Which brings us to the greens. They are massive, averaging 8,200 square feet.
Yeah.
And they planted them with Pen A1 and A4 bent grass.
Yes.
Now, for anyone not carrying an agronomy degree, including me, walk me through what that actually means mechanically for a putt.
Sure. So Pen A1 and A4 bendgrass are specific genetic variants. They're engineered to survive extreme stress. The blades grow incredibly dense and very upright.
Okay.
Because the plant is so robust, the maintenance staff can mow it down to microscopic heights. We are talking 1/10 of an inch.
Wow. 1/10 of an inch.
Yeah, and they can do that without killing the grass. When you cut greens that tight, there's virtually no friction. It's literally like putting on a glass coffee table.
So I have a question then.
Yeah.
If manipulating a course this drastically essentially rewrites its daily layout, does it change the historical DNA of Aronimink, or does it just weaponize it?
Oh, it absolutely weaponizes it. The defense mechanism of Aronimink is meant to be speed. Fast, firm conditions where a ball landing on the front of that glass-like green will just bounce and roll out into those treacherous new bunker clusters we talked about.
Right, but Gosselin and Hay have one variable they cannot control.
The weather.
Exactly, the weather front moving in. The forecast is fascinating. We are looking at a 59% chance of heavy rain on Wednesday.
And a 55% chance on Thursday.
Yeah, with cool 62-degree temperatures. Plus, Friday holds a 56% chance of rain. So the course is going to be incredibly soft and receptive for the first 36 holes, right?
Totally. Players will be throwing darts, and the ball will stop exactly where it lands.
But then look at the weekend. Saturday and Sunday completely shift to sunny skies, pushing up into the 75 to 80-degree range.
So they're essentially playing two different tournaments.
Yeah. Thursday requires this aggressive target golf mentality, but Sunday requires a defensive mathematical approach, calculating massive amounts of run-out on baked-out turf.
Whoever wins this tournament has to possess the strategic elasticity to completely change their swing thoughts between Friday night and Saturday morning.
That's a massive mental shift.
It is. You have to adapt from a course that catches your mistakes to a course that dramatically amplifies them.
Which perfectly sets the stage for our heavyweights. A course that transitions from soft to lightning fast, demands elite, raw ball striking above all else.
Absolutely.
And Rory McIlroy is entering this week at plus 850 odds, carrying an insane amount of historical momentum.
I mean, winning the Masters in 2025 to finally complete his career Grand Slam, that released a decade of pressure off his shoulders.
And he successfully defended that green jacket just last month. So now he arrives at Aronimink chasing a third straight major and a calendar Grand Slam. We actually heard from a rival caddy on the range who explicitly said this Aronimink setup is absolutely perfect for Rory's game.
The caddy is spot on, and it's primarily because of the early week weather. Rory is arguably the best driver of the golf ball in modern history.
For sure.
If the course is soft on Thursday and Friday, his towering ball flight combined with zero rollout means he can attack tucked pins with his irons, and he can do it without fear of the ball skidding over the back of the green.
But you have to weigh Rory's historic chase against the sheer consistency of the world #1 Scottie Scheffler.
Right.
Scheffler is the heavy favorite at plus 480. Now, he only has one win so far in 2026. Does that concern you?
Not when you look at the underlying data. He has top five finishes, including 3 straight runner-ups.
Yeah, he's always right there.
Always. And he is the defending PGA champion, looking to become the first back-to-back winner since Brooks Koepka did it back in 2018 and 2019.
But didn't he have some ball striking issues recently?
He had a brief window in the spring where his ball striking looked slightly off, yeah. But the practice round data shows he has completely recalibrated his swing path.
Good to know. Then we have Jordan Spieth, making his 10th attempt at completing the career Grand Slam. His press conference yesterday was just fascinating.
Oh, the whack-a-mole comment?
Yes. He described his current form as a whack-a-mole situation. He leads the field in driving one week, then leads in putting the next week, but he physically cannot sync up the two halves of his game.
And Aronimink will punish a fragmented game. Keegan Bradley actually had a brilliant quote yesterday about the philosophy of the PGA Championship that explains exactly why Spieth might struggle here. Bradley said the PGA Championship setup has no agenda.
I want to dig into that.
Yeah.
What does a no-agenda setup mechanically look like?
Well, think about the U.S. Open. The USGA's agenda is often to protect par at all costs.
Right. They want even par to win.
Exactly. They grow the rough to ankle-deep levels, essentially taking the driver out of players' hands and forcing them to hack out with wedges. The Open Championship, on the other hand, relies on coastal gales and fescue.
Sure.
But the PGA of America doesn't care if the winning score is 3 under or 15 under. They simply present a tough but fair golf course. And historically, an unbiased, no-agenda course heavily favors pure tee-to-green ball strikers like Scheffler and McIlroy.
It isolates those skills.
Yes, it does. It rewards those who can consistently find a 30-yard fairway. If Spieth is playing whack-a-mole with his swing, this just isn't the environment to find a rhythm.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Now, while the top tier is focused on legacy, The broader field is dealing with an entirely different psychological landscape.
The locker room vibe is definitely intense.
Yeah, it's shadowed by major absences, brand new PGA Tour rules, and the escalating situation with Livy Golf.
The absences immediately changed the gravity of the practice range, honestly.
Absolutely. We are without Tiger Woods, who stepped away for health reasons following that March car crash and DUI incident.
Right.
We are without Phil Mickelson, who withdrew on Tuesday due to a family health matter.
Right.
And just yesterday, Jake Knapp withdrew with a thumb sprain, bringing Tom Hoge into the field.
But the space left by those absences is being filled by the intense, ongoing structural changes within the sport itself.
Here's where it gets really interesting. We have 11 Livy golf players in the field this week. Dustin Johnson actually required a special invite from the PGA of America because his world ranking dropped so drastically, he fell out of the automatic qualifications.
Yeah, that was a big story.
And we need to talk about the pressure these players are under, completely independent of taking any sides in the Tour divide. We are simply looking at the facts on the ground. Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund just formally announced they are ending all EV funding after 2026.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the financial apparatus that underpins their current tour is just dissolving.
It's vanishing.
Right. For players like Jon Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau, they aren't just trying to win a major, they are dealing with massive professional uncertainty.
And you have Rory McIlroy in the press tent turning up the temperature. He clearly stated that if Levy players don't want to rejoin the PGA Tour now that the funding is drying up, quote, it says something about you.
It is a staggering amount of off-course noise.
Unbelievable pressure.
And compounding that mental load, the players have to navigate highly specific, brand new, microscopic rules enacted for 2026.
Yes, the rule changes. As a journalist covering the boots-on-the-ground action, these rule changes will directly impact the leaderboard. First, players can now repair or replace damaged club components mid-round.
Right, which is huge.
Yeah.
Previously, if you cracked a driver head, you either played without it or faced a complex logistical nightmare. Now, if you have a spare head in the bag, you can simply click it onto the shaft and keep playing.
That is a massive operational shift. What else?
Well, the preferred lies relief area has been drastically reduced. When tournament officials allow players to lift, clean, and place their ball due to wet conditions, which, like we said, we might see on Thursday.
Almost certainly.
Right. The margin used to be a full club length, about 46 inches. Now it is restricted to the length of a scorecard, about 11 inches.
Okay, stop right there. Explain the strategic mechanism of that reduction. Why does losing 35 inches of relief matter so much?
Because 46 inches is nearly 4 feet of lateral movement. If your ball lands in a muddy divot or behind a thick tuft of grass, 4 feet of relief almost guarantees you can find a pristine, flat piece of turf to hit off.
You get a perfect lie.
Exactly, which allows you to put massive spin on an approach shot. When you reduce that relief to just 11 inches, you might still be trapped in that same depression or bad lie.
Wow.
It drastically lowers the spin rate a player can generate, completely changing their approach strategy into these firm greens.
Fascinating. And the third rule.
Players can now take free relief if their ball lands in another player's pitch mark. Previously, you only got relief if your ball plugged in its own pitch mark.
So putting all of this together, you have Jon Rahm, who many analytics experts are actually fading this week.
Right.
Does the structural collapse of Levy's funding, combined with having to mentally process a scorecard length drop rule and new pitch mark reliefs, create an unmanageable cognitive load?
It really might.
I mean, when your brain is fried by tour politics and rule minutia, can you physically execute a 40-foot putt?
It absolutely fragments your focus. Golf at this level requires a quiet mind. When a player's mental bandwidth is occupied by future income insecurity and spatial geometry for a drop, they lose the subconscious flow required for touch around the greens.
And that mental static is physically manifesting on the practice greens right now.
Which brings us directly back to the putting panic we talked about at the top of the show.
Exactly. No one is searching harder for answers right now than Brooks Koepka.
The analytics surrounding Koepka are almost hard to believe right now.
He's currently ranked first on tour in strokes gained approach. His iron play is statistically the best in the world.
He's just peppering the flag.
But he is ranked 149th in putting. He is bleeding strokes on the green. And yesterday, he ditched his trusty Scotty Cameron Newport blade, the putter he has relied on for his major championships.
The Newport is a classic heel-toe weighted blade. It requires incredibly quiet, stable hands.
Exactly. Yeah. So he spent 30 minutes testing a tailor-made Spider Tour V with a plumber's neck. And then he tested a Scotty Cameron Phantom 9.5R, which is the exact model Cameron Young uses. Walk me through the mechanical reasoning here. Why a plumber's neck? What does that actually do to a putting stroke?
A plumber's neck creates offset. It physically places the shaft slightly ahead of the putter face.
Okay, so what does that fix?
For a player who is struggling with leaving the putter face open at impact, or whose hands are getting twitchy and out of sequence, that offset gives them a microsecond longer to square the face through the hitting zone.
Ah, I see.
When a 5-time major champion abandons his blade for an offset mallet on a Monday, it means his internal panic alarm is ringing. He fundamentally does not trust his hands to square the putter face.
Man, contrast that anxiety with the sheer momentum of Christopher Rayton. He just won the Truist Championship on Sunday at 90-to-1 odds, punching his ticket here at the absolute last second.
What a story.
And his victory was entirely fueled by an equipment overhaul.
It is the ultimate counterexample to Koepka's panic, you know? Sometimes a mid-season gear swap is the missing puzzle piece.
Right before the Truist, Rayton put a brand new Ping G440K driver in the bag. But more importantly, he debuted a custom Ping PLD Ally Blue H putter, featuring a counterbalanced 17-inch grip.
That grip change is huge.
He used it to rank second in the field in strokes gained putting. Mechanically, why does a counterbalanced extended grip change a player's stroke so dramatically?
Well, a standard putter grip is about 10.5 inches long. A 17-inch counterbalanced grip shifts a significant amount of the club's overall weight up into the player's hands.
Okay.
By anchoring that weight higher up, it deadens the wrists. It forces the player to use their larger shoulder muscles to create a pendulum motion, effectively taking twitchy hands out of the equation. Rayton trusted that mechanical shift, and it won him a PGA Tour event.
Incredible. We also have to look at the sleeper narratives developing this week, specifically Matt Fitzpatrick. He won the 2022 U.S. Open, but he told the press yesterday that the start of his 2026 season has actually, quote, eclipsed his form from that golden period.
And his underlying numbers completely validate that, but the dynamic to really watch is his housing situation.
Yes, it adds such a human element to a highly pressurized week. He is rooming with and competing alongside his younger brother, Alex. And Matt explicitly called Alex messy in the press conference.
So funny.
Imagine trying to visualize your approach shots for a major championship while fighting with your younger brother over wet towels left on the bathroom floor.
It definitely breaks the tension, but Fitzpatrick is a clinical player. He'll manage it. However, if you are looking for a storyline that defies all the heavyweights and analytics, there is a statistical anomaly echoing around the media center right now.
Ah, the 5-year underdog trend.
Right. Historically, at the PGA Championship, every 5 years, a massive, out-of-nowhere underdog lifts the Wanamaker trophy. 15 years ago, Keegan Bradley won at 175-to-1 odds.
Wow.
10 years ago, Jimmy Walker won at 150-to-1. 5 years ago, Phil Mickelson shocked the world at Kiowa Island at 250-to-1.
I have to push back on that, though. As a journalist, when I hear about a 5-year trend, my instinct is to call out statistical noise. I mean, these players aren't consulting a calendar from 5 years ago before they hit a tee shot. Is this just media center fodder, or does it actually factor into the psychology of the field?
Look, you are absolutely right to be skeptical of the math. The golf ball doesn't know what year it is. However, superstition and momentum are incredibly real in professional golf.
Fair point.
When a narrative like that catches fire in the locker room, it relieves pressure off the mid-tier players. They start believing this is a week where logic doesn't apply. You look at players fitting that sleeper profile, Ricky Fowler at plus 5,000, who just finished second at the Truist. Gary Woodland at plus 10,000. Even Keegan Bradley himself at plus 9,000. If the weather gets weird on Thursday and scrambles the leaderboard, that belief becomes a very powerful psychological tailwind.
So pulling all these threads together for Thursday morning, we have a golf course engineered in secret over 180 days, featuring glass-like bent grass greens that will play soft early and bake into concrete by Sunday.
Yeah.
We have Rory McIlroy chasing a historic calendar slam on a layout built for his swing. We have the absolute dissolution of Levy Golf's funding, testing the mental fortitude of its roster. And we have players so desperate for answers they're adopting new putting mechanics at the 11th hour. So what does this all mean?
You know, you've been covering this game for 5 decades. You watch Nick Laus rely on pure instinct and Tiger rely on sheer physical dominance. But I leave you with this question to ponder as you walk the fairways at Aronimink. With players swapping equipment mid-season based on microscopic stroke analytics, and agronomists completely rewriting a golf course's defensive DNA in just 180 days, has winning the Wanamaker Trophy become less about raw historical shot-making and more of a test of a player's backroom data team and agronomy adaptability?
Well, the modern game is truly played on a spreadsheet just as much as it is on the grass. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive. Enjoy the 108th PGA Championship, and we'll see you on the other side.